Who needs intro music when you're just laughing,
Yeah, that's
Or
exactly
someone
right.
can just tell a joke. And here we are, just like that. Mark,
So are we up and running?
we're running, man. Oh yeah,
Oh,
you always get this rolling start. That's
I
see,
love it. So in the mornings when we do our Nudelberg Daily Huddle, my dad is constantly like, "We're live," and
we're
so
like
I know we're rolling.
intense. No, I've seen you do it. I've seen you guys do
And we
that.
start with music. So for those of you that are meeting me for the first time through this video, my name is Marc Nudelberg. I'm president of On the Ball Ventures, and our company helps people and businesses grow through sales and marketing. And I'm a former college football coach. I spent 10 years as a college football coach building successful winning cultures. And when I got out of coaching football and got into business, I saw all of the parallels that came from what made me a successful coach and made our teams successful throughout the years to what made businesses successful. So I started drawing those parallels, and now we really focus in a sales-centric sense on how to build process, discipline, and accountability in the sales world, in a world where you can no longer really get in person for the first touch. So helping people modernize the sales process and get to a point where they're comfortable with the term content marketing, which is now so overused. But I would challenge
Everything isn't all marketing, content marketing, right? Isn't that
people.
the
I would say this: since
okay?
the inception of
New
social media,
focus. Yeah,
that's content marketing.
right.
You've constantly been content marketing yourself. You just didn't know that you could do it in a business way too. So helping, whether it be full organizations, whether it be individuals, understand the power of social media to help them in business, but then building a process behind that, right? You can't just do activity aimlessly. Behaviors have to match the desired outcome. So making sure that everything you do is aimed at the desired outcome and relationship is coming through in everything that you do. You know, in a world where everything is commoditized, people by people, so you have access to more people than you can ever imagine through social media. But if you don't lead with a relationship, you have absolutely no chance at success. So that's kind of a lot of buzzwords and stuff, but that's kind of an overview of how we
I
help people.
assure you there's substance to all those. Those are buzzwords, they're buzzwords for a period for a reason, usually. They're hot topics. And you mentioned, and something I'll just say by way of like testimonial, before I met you guys, I'd kind of seen your calling card, ahead of that. We have several mutual connections, and I'd see you guys pop up with different things. I'm like, these are people doing networking right, which is, you nailed it. It's about, especially with new technology, you get back to what's the core factor, and it's relationship. And really what I like about what you guys do is you're teaching relationship skills, skill development. And then what we've always said is, the online or the digital or the tool where you can manifest that somewhere else. So what we might do on LinkedIn, what we might do on YouTube, it's not like it's a LinkedIn or YouTube tactic necessarily. Right now, there are tactics and things you need to learn but it's really fine tuning. What is my approach for business, and how do I display it here and here and here? And I
So
think
I
you guys are doing such a good job of that, which is what attracted us to want to do some business.
when you study business in general, sales is the lifeline of business, right? So to me, in sports, when I was a coach, you wanted to be a good football coach, you had to have good talent. You could coach bad players all day long. You could never be the best in the country if you were playing with bad players. You had to have good talent. Well, in the sales game, it's really all focused on you. But if you want to be great at sales, you have to have great relationships. Look at the best people, look at the best sales professionals across organizations. It's all about how they build relationships at scale and then get return on those relationships. So to me, social media allows you to build relationships with people, but nobody knows how to do it. Everybody just tries to show up in people's inboxes, pushing what it is that they're trying to get from
They're
them.
looking for a hack. They're looking for a hack to get in there with something.
And it's the same rules. Looking somebody in the eye, firm handshake, all of the things you learned about building a successful relationship, being trustworthy, giving to get, all of those things that exist in the real world exist in social media.
Right.
There's just a different way to do it because you can't actually shake somebody's hand physically, but you can shake their hand with an invitation to connect and how you send that invitation. So in a world where preparation is always the answer, how do you prepare before you actually meet somebody in the virtual world to ensure success with that connection?
Right. And, you know, you said something about, you mentioned preparedness. And I think with what we're trying to do marketing wise, we're always looking for who's the best example of someone doing something very
Sure.
specifically in this. And, you know, for instance, you guys with how you do LinkedIn or how you do social media, we could go back and say all content marketing is, all marketing is content marketing, all social media is just media, all sales is sales. And I think a lot of people with really great business skills feel disconnected from what they would say is going on in the world of social media.
Yep.
And if they just get empowered to realize, oh, those things aren't throwaways anymore. There's a few tweaks, there's a few tactics you could learn. And if you incorporated those into your normal sales cycle, all those skills you've been banking up, all those relationship skills over years of business can come to life, I'd say rather quickly. You've
Well,
got some
here's what I
examples. I mean, you've got some examples of some social media growth and some things and some sales growth that you could probably rattle off if you want.
Sure. But to me, it goes back to the fundamental of you have to build relationships through it. Like there's a lot of content marketing experts out there right now that are preaching how to get 300,000 views on a post, or, you know, how to grow your network by 1,000 people a day, which I would challenge you, if you connected with 1,000 people in a day, but didn't have a conversation with any of those 1,000, is there any value to that? If you get a post that goes viral and gets 1 million views, but you haven't had a conversation with any of those people in those 1 million views, does that have any value to you? There's no way to convert any of that. So while it's great to get a ton of attention and it's great to get a ton of likes and all of those things, if you don't have a strategy to convert what you're doing on social media in order to have conversations, build relationships, and turn to do business, then it's a waste anyway. So the silver bullet to getting a lot of attention on social media isn't worth anything unless you have a process built behind it in order to convert business.
Right. Building the process. And that's something that's so hard to do. And I think some people, I've had people actually I'm not speculating. I have people straight up tell me they don't want to build in certain processes because they don't feel like that's legit. They don't want it to be scripted. And I say, my response is, look, if you care about relationships enough, you'll invest in a process that has the best foot forward. And that's something I had to get over, because I love automation on one hand, but you know, like we talked about that on LinkedIn in the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks. Certain automations are great, but certain ones that are trying to replace this human element are terrible. And the ability to be real on
I'll
social
give you a
media
great
really
example of
matters.
that. I'll give you a great example of that. Somebody that I'm connected to on LinkedIn, right? A friend of mine, I know her. She's in the insurance business, right? I get a message from her with this generic conversation of how she wants to help me. And I sent back, Stephanie, you know, we know each other, right? And she was like, oh, you know, I don't know how you ended up on that list. It must have, but that's a huge miss for me.
Yeah.
Because if she was delivering me information that I didn't know about, that I thought would have been valuable, I might have been into having that conversation. But
Right.
because I
But
got
not
it, I'm like,
not that you feel like a number now. She commoditized you.
exactly,
She commoditized
exactly.
you.
So that drip campaign that you have going on your social media that's firing messages out to your entire network, you're actually doing a disservice to the people that you know, because you're turning them off from wanting to be around you or hear from you, when really all you have to do is post a piece of valuable content that they don't even have to like it. They can just scroll past it. They saw your name, they remember you, you stay top of mind. And that's really the point of content marketing, is staying top of mind in order to maximize your word of mouth marketing.
Right. I 100% agree. Keep it as a high value thing. This cannot be a race to the bottom. Something we're doing, I mean, with videos, with interviews, with pieces of content, we'll create something with the only intention is that maybe 10 people see it. We'll do that. We'll create videos where we get a whole team together to walk through a proposal as it's on the screen, and use these different things. It's not about getting 1,000 views or 1 million views. It's about It's about driving the connections that fuel the next important, or the next 2 or 3 important steps in your business. Anyway, I love what you guys are doing. Real quick, tell me, or tell us, whoever's watching, and thank you for watching. If you're
Yeah,
from this
appreciate you
far,
guys.
I appreciate you. I love the dynamic you have with your dad. I'm also very close with my dad. I love seeing people work together as a family. I get to work with my brother, John, real time app. So I love that connection. Tell whoever's watching about that connection with your dad, and why it's so
Sure.
cool.
My dad has been a serial entrepreneur his entire life. We come from an entrepreneurial family, starting with my grandfather to my father, and now myself. But him and I have had this relationship where he's always led by example, and he's had a very high standard for what that example was as I grew up. So as I got older and I got into my own career and I was in coaching, we were constantly having this dialogue of what was happening in my sports career through these teams, through these trials and tribulations during a season, and how it related to business. And we would go back and forth every morning. We would start every morning this way, just talking to each other about what was happening and staying connected. And so now we do it in front of everybody on social
Yeah.
media, and we call it the
You just hit
Nudelberg.
record, man. You just flipped the switch.
So we were doing this anyway, but now we do it in front of everybody, where we're sharing content, we're sharing articles that we talk about, because our connection is a special bond, and I'm very thankful for it. But it's a special bond because he led by example. He was never, preaching to me about what I had to do or how I had to do it. He allowed me to be me my entire life growing up, and it has only led us to this place where we look at each other as equals, and we're constantly sharing knowledge back and forth. So people get a lot of value out of it in the mornings. We're live Monday through Friday from 8 to 8:20. We've turned it into a podcast, so we take the recordings now and throw them up on Apple iTunes and across all the other platforms, Spotify and stuff like that. But really, it's just our community builder. There's a
Right.
lot of people who like to start their mornings with us because we're a shot of energy, we're a shot of positivity, and we're sharing something that they can either learn from or share with somebody else throughout the day as just a good piece of content.
Right. Well, I love it. I mean, I'm sending everybody I can talk to on my network. Hey, check out these guys. Like, I'll explain later. Just, you got to meet these guys. Anybody that I know in business development that's watching this, anyone that wants to really get good at LinkedIn, I feel like I'm very good. I'm highly skilled at LinkedIn marketing. I've been doing it for years. These are guys that I am actively modeling things after. So that's my little seal of approval for whatever that's worth.
I
But really
appreciate the kind
encouraging.
words very much.
We have some great, great friends that are having a lot of success and doing great things, having worked with you guys. So we're seeing a lot of fruit on the tree is also something I'd like to mention. Anyone that we're referring business to or recommending, we feel like it's only really legit when you have some skin in the game. So we're
I would
trying to
say
do
this.
that.
I mean, our connection is a pure validation of how to use LinkedIn. I
Right.
saw you doing your thing. You intrigued me. I saw we had some commonalities in our background. So I shot you a message just saying, hey, you interested in virtual coffee to share stories?
Right.
You took that invitation. We immediately connected. I wanted to share you to my network, so I created a
Right.
post about it. And now you've connected with people that I know. I'm connecting with people that you know just because we like each other. We might not ever directly do business, but I'm sure there's people in your network that are going to do business with me. Same in my network with you. And that in itself is the way business should be done, which previously in the world, you could never really do across state lines, across county lines, across country lines. But social media has allowed people to connect and extend their reach far beyond physical boundaries. That's the real benefit that people should be looking for, but not everybody is.
Totally. No, I love it. I love what you guys are doing. You're setting the bar very high, but there's steps to get there. So you give up a great example, great pathway for people to follow. So keep up the good work. I'll make sure we include some good links on, like, the morning,
The
the
Daily Huddle.
coffee, the daily huddles, the link to your YouTube, a couple of your other things. And
Cool.
yeah, just thanks for spending some time really looking forward to seeing what collaborations happen next. I know there's already some things brewing between a few of our mutual friends here and acquaintances and some partners. So we'll see where that goes. We'll have to do another installment real soon. Check back in.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, good deal. Have a great week, man.
You too.